Hello everybody, John Fulford here. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. This is part 2 of my video series, How to Make $1 Million in the Music Business. Before I get started with part 2 here, have a click on the link in the description. The Band in Heaven 4-song cover EP coming out on Cash Grab Records. We need your Spotify pre-saves. Click on the link in the description. It would help us immensely. Now, for the first video, and if you haven't seen the first video, I'll link that in the description as well. You should have a look at that. We talked about how the big companies get their money in wheel and deal buying and selling these music catalogs. Now, in part 2, we are going to talk about how you could do it. You, yes, you. I don't care if you're driving DoorDash. I don't care if you're delivering Amazon packages. I don't care if you're bartending. This is how you could do it. A regular person like you and me could do it. Okay, so our lane on this, and I'm going to give you the short description so you're not sitting here wondering what I'm going to be talking about. I'll give you the short description, and then we're going to talk about it. What you got to do is find music catalogs that are very risky on their own, but if you buy 10 or 20 of them, they become less risky, okay? It's kind of like those junk bonds back in the 80s. Yeah, the guy that made junk bonds in the 80s ended up going to jail, but, you know, we're still going to use that as an example. The more you buy, your risk should be spread out, risk should go down, and it would and should become, or should and would become attractive to bigger companies to buy the catalog. So you're going to make one decent-sized catalog made up of a bunch of smaller, risky catalogs. So if you only bought one catalog, it'd be very risky. But if you bought 10, 20, 25 of them, the risk goes down. Now, what type of catalogs am I talking about? Okay. So think of that band, that punk band from, 20 years ago, not Green Day, but they were opening for Green Day on one of Green Day's first tours. Bands like that, okay, that maybe have, they sold a few 100,000 records in their career, maybe even 1 million records in their career worldwide. They used to be on like a cool independent punk label, and now they self-release their albums, okay? They had that bass player for the first 2 albums, the really big ones. Now the bass player, owns a small bar somewhere in middle America, but still has those publishing rights coming in, okay? Those are the catalogs you got to find. Now, what makes those attractive to you is there's a couple things. Number one, usually there's no management involved. There's no publishing company involved. So you could go right to the source, right to the writer, no pun intended, and speak with them about buying their catalog. Number two, the catalogs, if they're risky, right, if they're not like Dolly Parton or Elvis or Nirvana, things like that, the multiples are often lower. I'm going to use Nirvana as an example. A Nirvana multiple is super high because it's like a legacy catalog. Those songs have been in style since the early 90s, right? And Nassim Taleb, one of the authors that I read constantly, says that, according to his theories, that if those Nirvana songs have been out since the early 90s and they're well earning, they're going to keep earning well because they've been there for so long, right? It's part of the fabric of music as a whole, okay? But think about a band, and no disrespect to this band, I'm just mentioning them to give them a shout out. The band Seaweed, also on Sub Pop. Great music, great stuff. Nowhere in the same league in popularity as Nirvana. I mean, even just saying that sounds kind of dumb to me. I mean, Seaweed really aren't that popular whatsoever, okay? Bands like that. Now, I'm not going to talk about Seaweed anymore. I'm going to make up a fictional band. We'll call them Arm the Animals, right? So Arm the Animals, let's say they make $10,000 a year with their publishing catalog, $15,000, $20,000 a year. Find catalogs like that. Now, you're thinking to yourself, where do you get the money for this stuff? Well, here's the thing. You're trying to make millions of dollars, okay? So you have to put in the work. you have to find a couple people for your team. You are the person that's going to go out and find these bands and speak with the bands and call them on the phone and have meetings and go to the music festivals where like 6 of these bands are performing and email them or tweet them and meet with them. And it might not even be the bands. It might be the ex-bass player. It might be the old drummer, okay? You have to do the legwork. Not Macarena, not Who Let the Dogs Out, but the peanut butter jelly song. That's what I'm talking about. Not the upper echelon songs and catalogs, but kind of well-known, I don't want to say B-level, that sounds like an insult, but not quite as popular, okay? You got to find the person who wrote 22% of the peanut butter jelly song. Things like that, okay? So that's you. You also have to find an enterprising attorney that you could approach and sell them the idea of working with you in exchange for a piece of the catalog. So they are doing a lot of work up front for no money, and you're going to let them in on a piece of ownership of the catalog. I didn't say this was easy, but you're trying to make millions here. This isn't like how to make $1,000 a month in music library where you do some Future Bass Volume 62 and send it to some random library. You're trying to make millions here. And you got to find a person that could assist you in approaching the bigger catalogs, because eventually you want to sell, right? You want to sell the catalog to bigger catalogs. Now, these big catalogs, they don't even know your name right now, but just say, hi, how are you? Here's what I'm doing. Don't mention the bands you're contacting, but just to introduce yourself. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, if and when you want to sell your catalog, you'll already be locked in. Also, very important, you need to find the money person. The money person is usually somebody who has a lot of money from car washes, cleaning companies, non-ephemeral jobs. Like I have a worm farm. Here's my Rural King shirt. Rural King, okay? I don't know if you've heard of Rural King, but that's where like the farmers shop, okay? I have a worm farm. Another person I know digs wells. Do you know how much it costs to get a well dug for your property? It's not cheap, and nor should it be, okay? So these people, a lot of them, have millions of dollars. They also have a guitar in their room that they play every night before they go to bed. They want to be in the music business somehow. You have to approach them and sell them the idea of funding this thing, okay? To have a little war chest. It doesn't have to be a lot. A little war chest that you could go out, you buy 1 or 2 of these catalogs. Maybe these multiples are super low on these catalogs because they're so risky. So you might be able to get them for a 3 or a 4 multiple. So let's say the drummer for that cool punk band makes $10,000 a year. You might be able to pick it up for $40,000. And that gives you 1. And then you do it again and do it again and do it again. And once you have a few of those, you could usually go to a bank now and say, here are my catalogs. Here's the money that the catalogs are bringing in. Can I get a loan to buy more catalogs? And again, this is not easy. This is not how to make, $500 a month doing music on Pond 5. You're trying to make millions of dollars here, okay, without writing music. I'll do that in a whole separate video on how to write music and build a catalog. But this is how to assemble. See the difference? You're not writing the catalog. You're assembling it piece by piece by piece, okay? I hope that was helpful. Stick around for part 3. Please click the link, The Band in Heaven, 4-song cover EP. Give the video a like, give it a thumbs up. I didn't say this was easy. I'll be in the comments if you have any questions about what I'm talking about. Send me some examples in the comments of what you think a good catalog would be to buy. I'm sure we all have our favorite bands that aren't very popular. Start there, okay? Start there. This is John Fulford. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to click the link, and I'll see you next time.